Welcome to the Scottish Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host Chris, and here we'll be delving into the multitude of strange occurrences that happen within Scotland and beyond. You can contact us with your accounts at the Scottish Paranormal Podcast at gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Podbean, YouTube and Twitter, and you can contact us by either means. Tonight's episode we discuss a few different type of sightings from Gavin, and which followed on to be nightly visitations from what he explains to be possible demonic forces. Quite an interesting account here, and I would just like to thank Gavin again for coming on. I appreciate anybody that comes on and shares their stories. Anonymity will be kept if need be, so please feel free to share your accounts. Just contact us at scottishparanormalpodcast@gmail.com, or you can contact us via any social media means. So we'll just get right into it now, and we'll welcome Gavin to the show. How's it going?
How you doing, mate? Not bad.
So if you want to run into some of the accounts that you've had yourself, in terms of if you want to go chronologically or whatever kind of suits yourself.
Aye, well, it was the summer of 2012, and I was sitting out the front garden, right? I was sitting in the front garden for hours just reading, and I just happened to look up, and this glowing orb appeared, right? And it was already it didn't appear and it was stationary, it appeared as if it was already in motion.
Mm-hmm.
And it laid a trail that you would see on an aeroplane.
Yeah.
It laid a trail, about a 20-foot trail, and then it just disappeared, man.
So was this a during the day sighting?
During the day, aye.
Aye. So you see, so what can to just go into the sighting? So was it in the sky quite high, or was it lower down? What kind of vicinity would you say? It
wasn't that high. It was about the height you'd see a helicopter at.
Right. Okay. You know, aye. No as high as like commercial planes and stuff like that, but
no,
below the kind of ceiling of that. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So, and it was bright because it was a lovely summer's day, and it was really bright. The orb was really bright, you know.
Mm-hmm. So, in comparison to take basically a helicopter for example, what kind of size was it compared to a helicopter?
Oh, it wasn't that big, mate. It must have been about the size of a big ball or a wheelie of a truck.
Mm-hmm. Right, I see what you mean. Aye.
So it was just like the sort of orbs you see in the UFO videos, but they're at night time.
Aye.
But this was during the daylight, you know.
And it left a prominent chemtrail.
Aye, left a trail, man. I've never heard anything like it. It was so bizarre. You know, I just happened to look up, and it appeared. As I say, it didn't appear stationary. It appeared as if it was already moving in the unseen.
Right.
And it just laid a trail, then just vanished when it laid the trail, man.
Oh, did it? All right. So, so you don't need to give your own location, but if you don't want to or anything like that. But what was the rough kind of location of it?
I stay on the outskirts of Glasgow, in Coatbridge.
Aye.
And I'm just next to the M8, you know, the M8 motorways. And you've got View Park just across the way from me there. So it was at Coatbridge.
So 2012. Did you find any of the reports or anything like that within the area? Anybody else seen anything or anything like that?
No, nothing like that, man. No, nobody that I spoke to or anything in my town, my friends, and I looked online, nothing.
So when you seen it, if you looked up, was it already in motion in terms of coming from somewhere else, or did it just basically come into appearance?
It came into appearance, but it was as if it was already moving.
Aye, so as if it just kind of like came into, as in like
Aye,
where you seen it, and then just kept moving as if it was moving.
as if it was going through an invisible bridge, an invisible tunnel, and it just appeared.
Ah, right, okay.
Like,
Aye.
see a train coming through a tunnel, man.
Aye.
It just appeared from nowhere, led the trail, and then disappeared again.
I'm not drinking wine here, by the way. It's actually strawberry and raspberry juice. Just so you
Aye,
know, it's a wine glass one I could
vodka.
find at the time.
Aye, you swallow.
Quite interesting though. So what other type of accounts did you had yourself?
Well, that same day that I'd seen that, about an hour later, right, I stood up and I looked down the end of my street. In my garden, you can see right down the end of the street, and 5 black shapes come over the flats at the end of my street. And at first I thought they were helicopters. They were just black objects, 3 at the top, 2 at the bottom. And then they were just coming steadily over my neighbours' houses, coming in the direction of my house. And as they got closer, they were just black orbs. Like the one I'd seen earlier, only black, and I've never heard anything else before, man. It's even bizarre me talking about it now.
I totally understand where you're coming from.
I've only told one person this, and they come over, man, and the 2 at the bottom started getting like playing and they knew each other. They like a lava lamp.
All right, aye. So like, kind of swirling around each other or
melting into each other, man.
Or merging.
It kept the formation, 3 at the top, 2 at the bottom. And they were coming over the houses. And I just got a bad vibe off it, man. So I started praying. And then they stopped. And as just in my neighbour's house, they stopped right in their tracks after they were looking at me. Then one by one, they just went up behind the highest cloud and out of sight.
Very interesting. I mean, so that was the same day. Was it still light enough to see them and stuff? Was it broad daylight?
Aye, broad daylight, mate. I was only an hour later for the last one.
So, in this time, the time is before you seen the sight and you say roughly about the kind of you'd height you see probably a helicopter and that. Was these things at the same height or was it a lot lower?
These were a lot lower. They weren't that. They were just about 10 feet above the high flats down the bottom of the street. So pretty low, mate. Lower than the last one. You know?
Yep.
So at first I seen them and I thought they were helicopters. I'd never heard of black orbs before or anything like that, man. You know, that's the first thing came into my head. Or helicopters and formation or something.
Yep, totally, aye.
And they were just black orbs. That's the only way. That's what they were, was black orbs, man. But they stopped right in their tracks. And then they just went up one by one. Right above, there was a couple of clouds coming in and they went above them. And I stood and watched to see where they were going. They just went out of sight. That was it.
Could you see we seen them? Were they, in terms of like them being black, were they shiny black or a matte black? Did you see any reflection of them or nothing like that?
No reflection, just pure matte black. Mate.
Totally black, aye.
Totally black, aye.
It's interesting because it's not a lot of, you don't hear a lot of accounts of like black orbs. They're very, very few and far between. There's
I looked up online, you know, and couldn't really find anything about them.
We'll find that at all in it. No.
I find a few short videos of people taking on their phone, you know. But that's about it. You know, didn't find out.
Really interesting though. I mean, it's so 2012. I mean, it's like probably interesting to see what other kind of accounts were running about that time. I mean, so what month was it?
It was about the start of June.
Start of June 2012.
I don't know the exact. I can't mind the exact day, but it was around about that time, you know.
Aye, so like maybe like the first couple of weeks in June.
And it was really brilliant summer. You know, I remember that. You know. So.
Now I'll dig in and see what else is running about, like whatever kind of happened in there. But did you find, if you looked yourself and no found much?
No found anything.
No found none at all.
No. And you think other people would have seen it, like?
Aye.
Yeah.
No, definitely. That's the thing. The thing is with these things, as well. You hear accounts of quite a lot of people where some people will see these things and other people won't. Even in company, I mean, there are people in company where there'll be either a nuts and bolt. It could be an orb. It could be a nuts and bolt craft, and visually seeing it there close up, and other people just can't see it. And it's funny, you get accounts where there's like a few people will see in the same group, a few people will see the thing, whatever it is, and other people won't see it. It's just I don't know if it's a case of the whatever it is being selective of who sees it, or there's something within the people who are visualising it that they can see it. I think it's an interesting one. I mean, I was talking to a couple recently, and they had a couple of accounts, and that's what the guy's wife has said to us. She said, I think there's only certain people that can see these things, and she had seen basically like an orange orb come out the sky, and it was as if when she looked at it, it was almost like it knew she'd seen it, and then it went back up. It went back up, as you say, it went back up into a cloud. And that was the same kind of thing as well. And it was the parting jet, but it was an off the cuff kind of discussion we had, because it was a kind of chance meeting, and I had quite a lot of good accounts. And I've not really relayed much to them in podcast yet, because I've not really had like the other meeting from it. I mean, it was kind of just a brief kind of rundown of some accounts that they had. And that was one of the parting kind of things she said at the end. She said only certain people see these things, or can see these things. And it was the same conversation I had with Terry Lovelace. He was saying, he was saying that it was a nuts and bolts craft. It was like a saucer-shaped craft, and somebody else in the car park was looking at it, and he could see it, but his wife couldn't see it. And then the thing disappeared. It's interesting that people some people see it, some people don't see it. And I don't know, it's just as I said, it's a funny one between, is it the thing it's allowing somebody to see that, or it's kind of tuned into somebody, or is it the other way about? Is it some other people have just kind of, they're still susceptible to seeing these things? And there's a thing I spoke about in other podcasts, where it's kind of things with people for childhood. Their children are more susceptible to seeing a lot of these things for some reason, or feeling these things. It could be anything between like ghosts to UFOs and stuff like that, and they're more susceptible to seeing it, feeling it, getting that kind of feeling, getting that kind of vibe, and then they grow up, they tend to lose it. But some people tend to keep it, and I don't know if it's a kind of thing like that, or it's some kind of involvement for them. On another hand, I'm not really sure. It's a hard one. Like, so sorry. What other accounts were you going to kind of go through there?
Well, after I seen that, it just started a whole roller coaster of events, man. At night time, I'd be attacked that's the only way I can describe it. It's sort of attacked in my dreams with some evil, you know. That frightened the living daylight. So, you know, it's like a fear beyond normal fear. And these beings appeared in the dream, but it was just as real as me and you are sitting here in the now, you know.
Aye.
It wasn't, I couldn't even call it a dream. So that begun, and then getting poked, you're lying and getting poked and getting your feet poked. That happened a few times, just instilling major fear in me, mate, you know. And I had PTSD, but I was sleep with the light on to this day.
That's I mean, so going to the dreams, what did you see in your dreams? What kind of like descriptions of things, and what were they doing, or if you can talk about it?
Well, it appeared in the dream. I was standing in my room, and as I said before, it was as real as me and you sitting here now. I wouldn't even call it a dream, and it appeared like an 8 or 9-year-old girl, right? And know how the old hats the Undertakers used to have on, the big Undertaker hats, like a top hat thing?
Yeah.
I had that, and I just get the vibe off this thing of pure death, man. Every fibre of my being was afraid, you know. Oh man. So at the time, I was just a new Christian and that, you know, and I heard, like, you know, people saying when you counter these things, use the name of Jesus, you know. So I did that, but it was as if it was trying to stop me from speaking. I couldn't get the words out, and eventually I just blurted it out, and the thing left, and I woke up, and you can still feel it in the room, man. Pure terror. It's hard for me to talk about it, mate.
No, I understand. It's almost like some of these things. It's almost like when you hear some of the accounts like that, it's almost like it's like feeding on fear or something. I mean, that's what I kind of thought when I was a bit younger and stuff as well. And there's like some of the dreams I had when I was younger, and I've chalked them up to dreams, but there's ones that will never leave me. And it was like pure fear. And I slept with the light on until I was like my early 20s. And it's like, I don't know why. I mean, I didn't have nothing prominent that it stands out for me at the time, but just for the old house I stayed in and stuff, I don't know what it was. I just had an intense fear of it, you know what I mean? And it never kind of left me until I was older. I mean, so where did you go for there? Obviously, like having the dreams and stuff.
Aye. As if this thing would just try it on every now and then. It wouldn't happen for months.
Mm-hmm.
Then it would just, you'd feel it in the room before you go to bed as if there's something evil in the room. That sort of atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So you go, oh, here it goes again. You're trying to keep yourself awake so you don't get into that dream world, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Same again, just the name of Jesus. Then you wake up, it's over. That stops it instantly, man. And since then, as I say, it tries it every so often now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as bad now. This was back a while ago. It's not as bad now. But whenever it does, I know how to fight it now, you know. I still sleep with the light on, no, but that's just like a wee comfort thing, a habit of getting, you know, just get used to the light on now.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, you know, can't get to sleep without the telly on and things like that. I've just can't get to sleep now without the light on just because I'm so used to it. And it instilled, you hear of soldiers and that in World War One, you know, they get this sort of shell shock.
Yep.
Through experiences, you know. And I was terrified of going to sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew these things it's possible these things would try on at night, you know. And the first time it appeared as a wee girl, and then there was one time it became physical, and a few times it became physical. Like you lie in your bed and you feel something poking you in the side or pulling your foot. This time it poked me right in the eye, mate. I was just about to go to bed, and boom, right in my eye. I'm sitting there like that. I said, and the pain, you know, the pain had been poked right in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, right, this has got to stop. And this is when I started studying spiritual warfare and all that, mate, you know, because this was getting physical. And there was things happening down in the kitchen. At night you'd hear dishes being rattled and cupboards opening. Even my mum heard it. You know what I mean? I'm staying with my parents at the moment and they heard it, you know. Oh man, tell you.
So what, in terms of what's your perception of it? What do you think it is?
I think it's demonic, mate. I really do think it's demonic. I think it's pure evil, mate, because when you encounter it, I know you've encountered it yourself, you know, it's not nice. You know, it's no loving light, you know, as Paul Sinclair said, you know. It's because I think it's truly evil, mate.
Because it's funny, I don't know, it's hard to chalk up all the phenomena as the same, because you hear so much different type of accounts out there. Some people having, you look at obviously the kind of abduction phenomena and people looking at all that kind of side of it. There's a lot of different accounts in it where people have good kind of accounts, people have quite a lot of people have quite a bad accounts for it, and a lot of fear coming for it. And the thing is as well, it's like it's interesting where, like, from what you've seen and for what some other people see as well, I mean, it's like the whole thing where the recounting, like, obviously Jesus' name and stuff like that, like, it gets them away. And I've had this discussion before with some people, and it's like, even it's like can be done like with like Wicca and stuff like that, like recounting the stuff away as well, and getting belief in something to get it away. And it's I don't know if it's either a thing where these accounts where if it is demonic and that's getting them away, or it's a case of the fear's that intense that they're trying to back off or something, or whatever. It's a people have all got obviously different kind of beliefs in it and stuff, but I find it interesting. I find it so interesting the fact that it does disappear or go away, you know, that kind of stuff, and it's happening. It's the amount of kind of different accounts where obviously you've got like that account there, you've seen the kind of black orbs and things like that, and you've got other accounts with nuts and bolts craft and people having things basically coming into the room and all that kind of stuff, like beings and things like that. I've got like one. I've done a recent podcast there. I've not relayed it yet because it's the guy who basically had done the podcast where he's no one at his voice had outwardly relayed because his job and stuff like that, which you can understand. So I'm just working on how I can kind of get it out there because it's a really some good stories and stuff that he was talking about. And he had these things coming into his room, beings, since he was a younger age. And he used to have intense fear. He didn't go through much, like, he can't remember much of abduction scenarios, but he used to hide for them. And then he would just basically try and forget about them. And he ended up like, he got into a bit of older age and he actually, rather than, he didn't go down, wasn't down the route we kind of maybe a different scenario, but he wasn't down the route we gone down the kind of religion to try and to force him away of it. He was being strong enough to kind of, I mean, in his kind of head, to just face them down. And that, it was almost like, because the fear wasn't there anymore, that they kind of they backed off. And I don't know if that was just the case, or if it was just a case, maybe they thought that they were causing distress or whatever, I'm not sure. But it's his was quite a harrowing kind of tale as well, you know what I mean? But he had a lot of fear when he was younger and stuff like that. Going with your own accounts and stuff, when you've seen, obviously, the wee girl and stuff, because these things, if you're going through different stories, portray different things. And portray outwardly look like different things in that to people, like put screen memories up and all that kind of stuff. I heard all that. And on some instances, I'm not saying your instance, you know what I mean, but there have been some instances where there's things where, like when I was talking to Terry Lovelace, for example, when he was younger, he seen wee monkey men. In terms of when you seen the wee girl and stuff, what did you see anything else in terms of that, or was it mainly just that was the kind of?
That was it. The first time, it was just a wee girl, man, and then his name of Jesus, and it left. And then a couple of times, it was an older woman, but it was, I wouldn't say a reptilian woman, but just like an evil-looking woman, you know, that's, again, just induces that fear in you. I mean, you shouldn't logically be afraid. You know, that appearance, but it was just a really evil-looking, beautiful woman. You know, and then a couple of times it was just the covers, as if the covers in my bed were wrapped around my neck. The actual covers, the duvet, and then you come out it. You know, it's always the name of Jesus, and I come out it, and then I think they get tired of it because they haven't been messing with me for a while. You know, so they try it every now and then. Well, it's not as bad as it was, you know.
Did you go before you had the account where you seen the orb in the sky and the black orbs that day? Was there anything in your past where you ever seen anything was there anything else in terms of maybe even just like a kind of the orb phenomenon or anything like that, or what you're experiencing now? Was there anything else gone back when you were younger in terms of any like stuff that you could remember in terms of any type of phenomena like that? Because a lot of things are linked, like poltergeist stuff, ghost stuff, things like that.
Well, there was an account. I was 12 years old, and it was a New Year's night. And even my family will tell you this, you know. I was 12 years old, and I was in the bathroom, you know, just brushing my teeth and that. You know, I didn't drink at the time. I was only 12. And I was brushing my teeth and that, and I looked up into the mirror, and there was just like a black shape. And I turned around, there was nothing there, but it was still in the mirror. Then there was like a growling in there, right? So I ran to open the bathroom door, and it was just somebody was holding it. Eventually it gave way. I ran into my sister's room, crying my eyes out, man. And then ever since then, I always turned the mirror around. Up till I was 18, every time I went into that bathroom, I turned the mirror around. And we called it Ruby, you know, my mum and dad and my family sister would make a joke, "Oh, Ruby will get you," you know.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why we gave it that name, but that was the thing happened when I was 12. And then nothing happened until that account in 2012. So that's the only thing I can think that happened when I was young, you know.
That's interesting with that as well. I mean, because there's so many people see linked with these things as well. Like they'll see like the black forms, like as people would call them, like shadow beings or whatever, things like that. And that's a precursor, or always sometimes you see people see these things as well as seeing the other things as well.
Right.
What is your theory on, in terms of, if you've kind of looked into the subject at all and things like that? I'm sure you have now, you know what I mean? But do you think there's different things out there in terms of it's a kind of mixed bag? For example, you've maybe got what you're dealing with, or you've maybe got, like, for example, abduction scenario could be totally something different, or it could be aliens or whatever else, and then there could be some other kind of demonic things. And what's your kind of idea, or do you think it's just all labelled the same kind of thing, or what? What's kind of your take on it?
I believe it's definitely like extra dimensional, you know, and I think in the other dimensions, you know, the Bible talks about different dimensions, you know, and the Bible often uses animals to symbolize the entities. Like owls in the Bible will be like a succubus creature, you know, Lilith. So I think in other dimensions it's littered in with different life forms, you know.
Yeah.
And some of them are good, some of them are evil, you know, and I think you've got hybrids, you know, hybrids between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got the military, who knows what they're doing, you know, and so that's what I basically think about it, you know.
Aye. No, it's definitely it's a mad one in terms of John Keel. I mean, he kind of, when he looked at years and years ago, he kind of banded it all together, like the whole thing, UFO phenomena, everything, and he's seen it all as like some kind of tricksters and stuff like that. But then you have people looking at a lot of different aspects of it. So like there's good and bad things, and there's a lot of different things. There's just loads and loads of stuff that we don't know. I mean, I do think there's a lot more coming out now, and we're finding out stuff every day. And I think, like, the world's a stranger place than we think. It really is. What do you think the overall intent was?
I think it was just to instill that trauma in me, you know, just to destroy me, basically, you know, because it was terrifying, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's the only thing I can take away from it, you know.
No, I can imagine. No, but it does sound pretty scary. You know what I mean? It's like strange accounts. You know what I mean? But and it's the thing is with that, it's like trying to cope with that at the best of times hard enough, and being the fear behind it. You know what I mean? It's strange enough, like things like that coming in and trying to deal with it in any sense. And then obviously you've got the other end of it, like the total fear aspect to it. Even if the kind of the fear wasn't there with it, if it was something totally different, you still need to cope with all that. Did you talk to anybody in the church about it? Anything like that? No.
I spoke to my mate in the church, and he just sort of humoured me, you know. But I don't think he believed me, you know. So I never spoke to him again about it, you know. So
that's the thing. There's like it's with people coming out and talking about it. No, I mean it brings more people out to talk about it and understand. I mean, maybe what these things could be or these things are.
aye.
There is definitely more and more people coming out every day. You know what I mean, there's more and more podcasts out there. You know what I mean, there's more and more people once they hear a story and they come out as well. And I've just gone back to the one I was talking about with the other guy I had the podcast with, which I've not released yet. He had seen these black shapes as well.
Right.
He had seen basically beings that he would see them outside first and would phase in. Basically, he said, look, like if you look at the typical grey, but they're white, and they would phase in and then they would appear in his room when he was younger, and he would just hide under his covers and then hope they would go away or whatever.
Aye.
And he ended up, he would see black things as well, like the kind of the shadow things and stuff like that, shadow beings. And he also at one time experienced the growling, like you're talking about as well.
Aye, just like a growling in the air, like, you know.
I think he said that when they moved, I'll need to go back through it all again and listen to it, but I'm going to try and get it relay it. I'll need to kind of relate it out and recount it as best I can. But he had moved back into a property in the same area, and that had happened for years, I think. And then him and his wife had heard growling in the house, and they heard it for like a few months until it disappeared. And just totally mad. I mean, it is. And as I say, I said that as well with the things that happened in my own house years ago. The world's just I think it's a more interesting and varied place than people actually think it is. I give credit for.
People are so into fantasy and sci-fi, and yet the real sci-fi fantasies here.
Aye.
I mean, it's real.
No, that's it as well. And you've got, like, for example, now all the stuff that's coming out on UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call them. What I mean, in America, for example, the government coming out there saying that, like, they generally exist and they don't know what they are anyway, and they're looking into it. And then you've got, like, wee hints coming from Luis Elizondo about other things, about, like, obviously crash retrievals, beings, and the overall intent why they're here. And you were saying in your last podcast, like, why now? You know, what's the timing? And that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing, because there's been people before Luis Elizondo trying to whistleblow and bring things out. Although I think between what they're doing now and where they've got to, you know what I mean, doing it, which has been pretty good at what they've done. And the way they went about it, it's probably they've had more behind them this time. That's maybe one part of it, and that's maybe why they're getting more traction with it. It could be just a turn in people's perceptions yet. But I do worry. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, why is it allowed to come out now? What's there?
Right.
But they need to tell us, or did it? As I was talking to Terry Lovelace about, is it do they need to tell us something? And they need to tell us something soon, or whatever. But I think there will be more revelations coming, and I think we'll hopefully find out a lot more about their existence and things like that, and existence round about us. I just think there's so much out there. But I listen, like, totally interesting story. I mean, we have got, and so what do you do now in terms of for protection and stuff like that? Have you?
Just pray, man. Just pray. Just if it happens, just command it to leave, you know, in Jesus' name, and I've been all right since, you know. So, that's about it.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, so, well, listen, I wish you all the best, and anytime you fancy talking like that, you can just ping me a message as well, you know what I mean, via email or whatever, or via Facebook. I mean, honestly, it's a case, I appreciate you coming on and recounting your stories. You know what I mean, I know how hard it is to try and actually tell anybody your stories, and because of the fact that you think you're going to be ridiculed or nobody's going to listen to you and all that kind of stuff, and it's sometimes that you just need an outlet just to kind of relate it as well, and even that can take a bit of pressure off. And that was the same when I was talking to the last guy I was talking to there, but no Terry, about the other guy about the abduction scenarios. He said, I'm happy to recount it. He said, I just want to tell somebody. I mean, I know if you don't want to tell a few people as well. And so I mean, it's I do appreciate you coming on, and thanks very much for your time.
Thanks for getting the time to come on, mate. Thanks.
No worries, Gavin. Right, well, listen, catch you soon.